This recording will be about the end game of World War I and how the war came to a conclusion on the Western Front, and a little bit of the ramifications of what this meant. You can take some notes on this video on the backhand side of your packet that we've been using on Russia, and take a look at the backhand side. You can mark that page 12 after the handout we've been studying regarding Russian Revolution and Leninism. And you can take some additional notes from this video on that page. So the final stage of World War I began in 1917, and Germany was using a technique called unrestricted submarine warfare. And they started this military practice that you can see the zone of operations in red there on the PowerPoint slide. The use of unrestricted submarine warfare was an attempt by the Germans using submarines to cut off British supply lines. The Brits were able to get a lot of supplies to maintain their war effort through shipping, ocean liner shipping, and a lot of that was coming from the United States of America, who hadn't joined the Allies by the beginning of 1917, but were supplying the Allies. And you can see that the British had, by 1917, established quite an effective blockade there, and it's shown in green, to try to cut German shipping lines off and their supply lines, to try to choke the German economy and knock them out of the war. So Germany tries to do the same thing to the Brits, but what it involves them doing is torpedoing a number of international merchant vessels, and a number of these were American merchant vessels. So as a result of Germany torpedoing and destroying American business property. Here you see a portrait of American President Woodrow Wilson. He interjects the United States into the war in April 1917. The United States is provoked into war, according to Wilson, by the illegal actions against freedom of the seas and free trade that the Germans are engaged in with their unrestricted submarine warfare. So what you have is, by April 1917, the United States is entering the war, but it's going to take the United States under President Wilson some time to mobilize. In the meanwhile, you have Germany has defeated Russia on the Eastern Front. In February of 1917, Russia experiences their first revolution that brings the provisional government to power. So now Russia is able to shift all the forces that they had on the Eastern Front over to the Western Front. You have the United States ratcheting up for war, but isn't on war footing yet. So Germany is going to try to make one more big push on the Western Front before the United States can come in across the Atlantic and support the Allies, Britain and France, on the Western Front. And Germany comes very close to winning the war. Now that they only have to fight a one-front war on the Western Front, they come within about 50 miles of Paris in this one final desperate push before the United States is able to mobilize fully for the war. But they're unable to do so. And by the time the United States mobilizes and is sending fresh bodies, is able to bring the manpower of the United States to bear and the industrial capacity of the United States to bear, the tide of battle starts to turn. So by the summer of 1918, the Allies now, the United States, Britain, France, fighting the Germans on the Western Front, the tide of battle starts to turn and the Allies start to make some gains against the Germans. And here you can see the timeline. Austria-Hungary surrenders in early November 1918, specifically November the 3rd. And this leaves Germany all alone. The Allies are starting to overwhelm Germany. So what you have is the Kaiser, or the Emperor of Germany, abdicates, relinquishes his crown on November 9th, 1918. There's just no way that Germany can defeat the Allies at this point. The truce to end World War I is signed on November 11th, 1918. And it's signed with Germany signing a truce with the Allies, surrendering to the Allies. Not a single shot on the Western Front fired in Germany the entire war, on German territory the entire war. All of the fighting had been in France and in Belgium along the Western Front, but yet Germany still loses the battle on the Western Front as they're increasingly overwhelmed by the Allies. What you have is the end of the Hohenzollern family reign in Germany. That was the old Prussian royal family. Another one of these traditional dynasties falls. So what you had first, the Romanov dynasty in Russia falls. Second, in the first few days of November, November 3rd, the Habsburg family falls in Austria. And then just a few days later, the Hohenzollern family, the imperial family of Germany, and the royal family of Prussia, and Prussia, the German state that had united all of Germany together, also falls. So a number of these traditional dynasties that go back hundreds of years of traditional rule, first the Romanovs in Russia, then the Habsburgs in Austria, and then the Hohenzollern family, all in 1917 and 1918. These three traditional royal families in Eastern Europe, more traditional part of Western civilization in the East, all fall as a result of World War I. And what you have is established in Germany is a democracy, what's called the Weimar Republic. And the Weimar Republic is the first time Germany has had anything like a democracy.